first live webinar. So I'm so excited for you guys to be a part of this inaugural moment for us. So it's really, really exciting that you guys are here. We have some really great things to talk about. But before we do, I'm going to give you guys a little backstory on 360 Baseline, and then we will begin. So let me get my notes all back up. Okay, so 360 Baseline is a nonprofit publishing platform created to be a resource for people looking for quality news and information that leads to insight, inspiration, and solutions. So all of that to say, when we're writing our articles, we are giving you the full circle story. We're going to give you the headline, we're going to give you the backstory, we're going to give you expert recommendations. Every time you go to 360 Baseline, whether it's celebrity news, wellness, fashion, you're going to get everything that you need. Even if you don't know who a designer is, if you don't know a celebrity, if you don't know a topic, you're still going to leave fully knowledgeable on what exactly is going on. So that is our purpose with 360 Baseline, and our audience is strictly for the Black community. That's who we love to address and who we love to talk about. And it's an honor that we can actually make this happen and have it all in fruition. So I'm really excited, of course, why we're all here, which is for BruceGlen, and I'm going to give their bio, talk briefly about them.
I just want to say, I'm sorry, the church is the church.
The church?
It's just called the church, yeah.
It's called the church. Okay, no problem. Okay, so Bruce and Glenn are fashion designers and pastors, earning the name the Fashion Preachers, preaching at the church by night. And by day, the twins pursue a design career working for celebrity brands while starting their own business. BruceGlen is a full service clothing, leather goods company, and their message is simple. God wants to make the dream that he put inside of you come true. As we get to know him, we will discover how to make our dreams a reality. So hopefully I did you guys justice, and that makes full sense as to what, because BruceGlen started off bags from what I remember, because I've been a fan, but then they came out with the full shebang clothing, which is also a banger. So want to make sure to fully emphasize that they are not just leather goods, but they have a whole clothing collection that we're going to talk about. And that segues into New York Fashion Week. But before we begin, how are you guys feeling? We just did a little run through before, but how you guys
Well, wonderful. And we said this before, but we're honored to be the first interview here at 360 Baseline. Thank you for having us. We're super excited about the interview today.
Yeah, I'm super excited to have you guys.
Too, right?
Yes.
I'm Bruce and I'm Glenn, and together we're BruceGlen.
I love it. Okay, BruceGlen, let's do this. Let's talk New York Fashion Week, of course. So the Wild Wild West, talk about the collection. What did everybody see on the first half of New York Fashion Week for you guys? And I know I kind of touched on, this is your first in person, one was virtual. So this was your second showcase to the world for New York Fashion Week.
We had planned on doing in-person showing in New York City the previous Fashion Week, but the Omicron came out, so we were like, you know what, maybe we should just do virtual, let's not waste any money to get a venue and have no one show up. So we did virtual, and then this, as you said, was our very first in-person New York Fashion Week show.
Super exciting. I mean, adrenaline pumping.
It was crazy. It was crazy. I mean, like, we were rushing to get samples together and get them done.
I mean, we got finally, some of the final samples 2 hours before the show.
Oh.
So our sister from LA flew in her suitcase with samples, bringing them 2 hours before the show. Was the first time we saw them.
And she wasn't supposed to fly in. She was supposed to ship everything overnight on Friday to get them, but the sample maker wasn't done, and he missed the cutoff for overnight shipping with FedEx, so we had to put her on the plane that night to get the samples there the following morning.
That was crazy, but like, to see everything come together, it was the first time we saw all of the clothing on the models and the models standing together.
On actual human people. We had never seen any of these
We
clothes.
turned to each other and we said, how did this happen? I mean, that was our literal response. We looked at everything, all the models standing together, some sitting on the couch, some standing in the window, and we were like, oh my gosh, this looks amazing. Like, how did this happen?
Yeah.
So we were just as shocked and surprised, and
as most people who were there,
and pleased as everyone else. We're seeing it all for the first time
like
together.
5 minutes before the show, I'm like changing my pants in the front of everybody, because
and there was the style director from Target there, and I'm like, oh my gosh, hello. And she said, it's okay, baby, go ahead and change your pants.
So it was crazy. It was stressful, but it was equally gratifying once everything was done, and we were able to look and see what had been accomplished. We were pretty amazed and wowed ourselves.
Yeah, it was amazing. I will say, walking into the showroom, I described it in the article that I wrote about your collection. It was like a beam of light touched down in the middle of the room, and there was this array of color sitting on the couch. And I'm just like, you could see everybody was just like, oh my goodness, what is going on here? And then there's music, and it was honestly, I have not been to a showcase that had that wow factor before. When you're sitting and you're at a fashion show, of course, you see the models walking, but they were literally just posing and looking at you. And the music is going. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is something else. And for you guys who are watching, as you can see in the background, BruceGlen, they're all about color. So you can only imagine in a room that did not have color, was a very neutral room, and then seeing color when you walk in was something very much
Wow,
to
thank
see.
you so much. And your article was amazing, and what you're saying today, it just is. It's nice to hear. It really is. It's like the culmination. Like, we've had so many moments like this over the last, I don't know, month. Over the last time since we lived in LA. So many crazy moments that were like confirmation of being on the right path, doing the right thing. We were in the airport coming back from Tulum, and there was a woman, and she was like, "Oh, you're a twin? I have a twin too." We talked with her for a little while. That was nice. And there was another woman. She was like, "You guys are dressed so fun. What do you do?" And so we talked with her for a little while. And then this woman comes up and she says, "I follow you on Instagram. I love the brand. I love the clothing. It's so beautiful." And we took a picture with her. I was like, "You want to take a picture? Okay, that's fine with me." And then we get to the airport in LA, and this older woman comes up and she puts her hand on my back, and like a real nice motherly touch. It was something about her touch. And then she said, "I saw you on TV the other day. You and your brother, keep up the good work." We leave out of the station, and I saw the other lady who was a twin, and we saw her in our layover in Houston, Texas. And she said, she looked at us and she grabbed us. She said, "Keep up the good work, baby. Keep up the good work." It was just it's like this whirlwind or this tornado of like confirmation, and encouragement that we're on the right path.
And not just encouragement,
we appreciate
encouragement with a motherly touch, which is really just special to us.
And your encouragement was a sisterly touch, okay?
I love it. Hey, I'll take it. I will definitely take it. So let's get a little bit into this collection. I know you guys kind of touched on it previously with me, but all the things that it took to get this collection together, and some things in a short span of time. So tell me a little bit of some of the errors that occurred, but of course we would never know behind the scenes before the collection was fully.
So many.
So we didn't been so busy,
with production and shipping and
like at any given time we're working on 3 different collections, sometimes 4. We're designing a collection, we're producing a collection, and then we're shipping one. We're selling / shipping a collection. So it's a lot of things to keep track of. And then we do like a lot of other stuff on the side, like influencer stuff. And now we're doing a little more TV stuff. And so we did not design this collection until 3 weeks, maybe 2 weeks, 2.5.
And we had a friend, Ali, our wonderful friend, Ali, I love her so much. She came into town and she was only going to stay for a month, like working remotely. And she was like, "Let's go to Joshua Tree this weekend." We had never been. We live in California. We should go, right? And I was like, "Oh, we have too much work. We can't go." And I was like, "You know what? We're going to Joshua Tree." And it was super inspiring. There was so many great vintage shops there. I mean, just like all around. And it like pointed so directly to our Wild West, Wild West.
So we came back from that trip so inspired. But like design, I guess the biggest thing was trying to get this whole collection done in 2.5 weeks.
Like we had to like pull in like 5 different sample makers, and we had to make deals with each one. Okay, this is what I need done. How many can you do? "I can only do 5, sir." We got to go to another one. "This is how many I need done. How many of these can you do?" "I could do 8 of them by this." "You sure you can do 8?" You know what I mean? And then we had to go to this one. "This is how many I need done."
And then even still, like one of our sample makers didn't get 4 items done. So that collection was missing 4 items,
4 looks.
4 complete looks. And the thing is, 3 of our models dropped out at the last minute. So it all just wound up working, which is why I can't get worried anymore. I'm like, it'll all work out. It'll be what it's going to be. It's going to,
Glen's girlfriend is a designer and she sews. So she was stationed in the place with her sewing machine, and she was like, literally, we tried it on the model. It needs to be brought in the waist, and she like literally like and threw it on the model. We had 2 models on the floor. We just got these samples in with the leather patch down the side that's supposed to be cut into fringes. And we had 2 models on the floor who just said, I'll help. Don't worry. Go do what you have to do. And they got on the floor and started cutting. I mean, it was so beautiful to see everyone like
just pitch in.
It
was a family
without even asking.
And we just met these people in person like maybe an hour or 2 before, and everybody was so willing to help and get everything together before the doors opened. So it was as crazy as you would think a New York Fashion Week show would be backstage.
And we're usually like involved in everything, which is part of our problem. So we're like trying to see the photo shoot. I'm trying to see this, and I'm meeting people, and I'm trying to hold on. Wait, what's that? Fix her top. Her top is a little twisted. You know what I mean? And I really practiced that night, like tuning everything out and just focused on like meeting people and talking with like the editors and the guests who came to the show, and not worrying about all the other details that were swirling around.
I mean, I would never know. I wouldn't have been able to tell. You guys look super relaxed and having a great time, that I wouldn't have known that there was a whole thing going on backstage. And I guess that's Fashion Week, right? You just never know what's going on. I love that. So then with that collection, so the part that I did not know is that you guys also did something with Fashion Bomb Daily. And I know they had a show. Yeah. And from what I'm understanding, this collection was not the same as the collection. So how the heck? Like, how did you do that collection?
Because we're crazy and we like to do crazy stuff.
But you know what? Claire is a really, really wonderful, wonderful person, a great friend. Before we knew her, we knew Fashion Bomb Daily, and we followed it. And, I think we had said to each other, we're going to be friends with Claire one day. We're going to be having lunch with her. We're going to be, because like she had this, and she still does, she had this brand that you aspire to be a part of, be connected with, especially for the Black community.
She's done this like before, before it was this big resurgence in the fashion industry to highlight Black designers.
She was always doing it.
Yeah, she was doing this from the beginning, and a lot of it came from the fact that she felt like she didn't fit in the fashion industry, and she would apply for these jobs and all these things and had no entryway in. So she decided to create, her own platform,
which wound up being a lane for designers like us and other Black designers who are underserved or undershowcased.
So we had lunch or early dinner or something. I don't remember, here in LA when she was here. And she was like, I'm going to do something for Fashion Week.
Would you guys be a part? And we're like,
collection.
Yeah, for sure. And then the line that we're showing with Fashion Bomb Daily sells exclusively on Fashion Bomb Daily, but we also have other retailers. So we need to create another collection for those retailers.
And Claire was so wonderful that she said, why don't you just use my space in the morning and then
for your presentation,
because we're not going to be using that space. You don't have to worry about getting a venue, just use my space, and then at night just show the other collection with us. And so that's
I see. And that all makes sense now. When I walked into the building, I was wondering like, this is the space that, okay, that makes so much sense. And for those again who don't know, Fashion Bomb Daily, and Bruce and Glen kind of touched on it. She started off as a blogger. Claire, she is the founder of Fashion Bomb Daily, editor-in-chief, and Fashion Bomb Daily has been around for a while. When the bloggers were blogging, really in the very, very beginning, honestly, before the bloggers were really blogging, she was blogging.
Yeah.
And it's been a space where she created her own lane in the fashion industry and now has one of the top digital publications for fashion, honestly, in the world. So she had a fashion show for New York Fashion Week as well, and they were one of the featured designers within the fashion show, which amazed me because I have not heard anybody have 2 showcases during New York Fashion Week, and you guys made that happen.
I know, it's crazy. It is, it's really something. It is like I don't stop to think about those things, but we sometimes we just get in the mode of going and doing.
Yeah. Once we get our mind and our sights on something, we just whatever we got to do to get it done, we get it done. And it's really the grace of God. God is amazing, and He just lines everything up so perfectly for us. So.
Yeah. Definitely amen to that. And of course, you guys, if you're listening, make sure to ask any questions in the QA, and I'm going to ask BruceGlen at the end, whether it's fashion related or just anything in general about them, do not be shy. Go ahead and start. I know I see one person has already asked a question, so we'll definitely make sure to answer her question towards the very end. But now that we're talking about going back to the Wild Wild West, so originally you guys lived here in New York City, correct?
Yeah.
And then just spur of the moment said, we out of here. We're leaving. We're going to LA. Please walk me through that story.
And we don't want to get all preachy, you know what I mean? But it was really God. We had some really crazy, without saying too much, we had some really crazy changes that happened.
Very dramatic.
Something that we were a part of and like believed in very heavily for so long and dedicated so much of our life to, you know, the curtains were pulled back and we saw that it wasn't what we thought it was. And so in order to kind of like sever ties from that and have a fresh new start, and in a lot of ways we felt like to move out of the place we were in and then go to somewhere else was super, super important. We didn't know at that moment how important it was for our mindset and the things that God wanted.
We just needed a whole new perspective shift, you know, and moving to LA
it felt,
literally gave us that.
I can't even tell you how right it felt. At that point in our lives, so many things were unsure. And it was just, it's crazy to think it was just like 9 months ago. Everything was so unsure. We felt like we were starting over in a lot of ways personally. And the only thing that felt right, like we started a church called The Church. We didn't even know we wanted to do that, you know? What we did know was that we should move to LA. We knew it in our gut, and it made no sense to everyone we told.
Everybody thought we were crazy, and a lot of people felt like in a lot of ways we were abandoning them
because we were ministers in the church where we were, and so a lot of people felt abandoned and hurt, you know, and you know, it took a minute for us to get past that, but when we finally did and were able to kind of like look up and around, see the sun shining and the palm trees and this new fresh perspective and new opportunities.
And then once we moved, everything it's like our life just fell into place, like in a way that was like so mind-blowingly supernatural that we knew that we were right where we were supposed to be.
Wow. So let me ask you then, prior to your move to LA, have you guys been to LA before? What was it about LA? You woke up in a dream, God said something to you. What particular about
right.
LA?
You know what? It's so much to the story, Sarai. So, okay, before we had been to LA a couple times because we had done like some game shows and stuff.
We were in the game show casting pool. So like you only do one game show per year, okay?
Okay.
And so like we had done like 3 different game shows at this point every
year. So we
had
come to LA, but we had never been here to like just explore by ourselves. And we had come actually about 3 or 4 weeks before we actually moved here. We were here on a week-long, basically missionary trip. And we were here to plant a church because that's what we did with the ministry we were at previously. That's what we did a lot in the past. We planted churches in Manhattan. We planted a church in Brooklyn. We planted a church in Italy. We planted a church in Harlem. And it's like churches full of young artists, like, you know, like people who think differently and who maybe don't feel comfortable in a traditional church setting. Okay. So we were here in LA to do the same. We had the most amazing week, and we were out on the streets for a week, you know, doing things, meeting people. And at the end of that week, Sunday was the culmination of it all. We had a huge Sunday service. It was packed from just people that we met that week. And we had a group with us.
The service was electrifying. The Spirit of God was there.
There were so many people. There were celebrities that came out to the service. It was just amazing. So we had already in our mind decided that we were going to obviously stay and live in New York City and then maybe travel back and forth maybe once a month to do upkeep on the church and to do a service, you know what I mean? So that was our mindset. But then when we had gotten back to New York, that's when, I guess just to put it, you know, as simple as possible, that's when all the poop hit the fan and that poop was everywhere and it stank. Okay, it stank. It was a stanky situation
with the previous ministry we were at,
and it was just crazy. Everything was just crazy. Like for 2 weeks, it was the craziest time of our lives because everything.
But I mean, I guess you can't really understand it unless you understood like how invested we were personally, businessly,
mentally,
emotionally, in the ministry. And, you know, it was more than just a church we went to. It was a family that we were a part of. And, you know, we were baked into the operation.
Our name was synonymous with this ministry, you know, and
right.
And our faces were synonymous with this ministry. We were the face of, you know, the English ministry, you know, people knew that those twins are a part of that.
So like severing ties with that was a very, very, very hard thing, personally, externally. And so the best thing for us to do was to pick up and like move. And it was, and that process was a 2-week process of us like really deciding and really like coming to terms with the fact that this is God for our lives. This is what God wants us to do. Because everything that we had learned up until then would teach us that it's not God to leave, it's God to stay and stick it out and to try to understand and to, you know, forgive and, you know, all those things. But it was time. And just to put it lightly, we could talk more offline about details.
Okay, cool.
So we got up, we were staying in a place that was connected to the ministry, and we like literally snuck out in the middle of the night, moved our stuff to storage, found an apartment on Craigslist, the very first apartment we saw in LA. We called, she showed us via FaceTime this apartment we're sitting in right now. We applied. 2 days later, we had it. And
Next week we moved.
The next week, about 5 days later, we moved to LA.
First of all, Craigslist, you guys are brave, unless it's a LA thing. I've always been like, Craigslist.
I know,
so
Craigslist is a little crazy. Craigslist is a little crazy. But once we did the phone call and saw the FaceTime, she walked us to the apartment FaceTime. We were just moving quickly, so we were gonna get like, we were looking at a studio apartment, how crazy, like all of our stuff. And she was like, there's no more studios left. The only thing left is a penthouse. And we said, oh, how much is it? And she said, no. I was like, okay, it's not too much more than our budget. And she walked us through all the way to this top. I don't know if you see those spiral stairs in the background to the top. And we have a pool up there. And
wow.
It was just a real God situation, like how everything moved so fast, like after we were obedient to just go. Like I did. And then when we got here to LA, the transformation of our minds, the way that we thought about everything, just was a testament to the fact that we were now in the right place. Now we're here in LA. We're close to like Universal Studios, and we got called in to do Access Hollywood, one segment, and now they've been calling us back once a month for.
I've noticed. It's am I correct? It's hashtag Style Talk. Is that what
Style Talk? Yeah. Style Talk with Bruce and Glen on Access Hollywood.
There we go.
I'm not going to say any names or anything, but we just got off of a Zoom today for another TV show where we would be the reoccurring style experts of the TV show.
Okay, congratulations.
But all of that is happened when we moved to LA. You know, all of those doors began opening. Not to say LA is the move for everybody, but at that point in our lives, it was definitely God's voice, and it was scary, it was unfamiliar, and we just were obedient, and God opened up the doors.
Yeah, it was definitely stepping outside of our comfort zone.
And I was going to ask you, for those who are thinking about it, getting out of your comfort zone is hard, especially leaving a place that you've lived and you've lived for a while, or maybe even a place you're from. What would you say to somebody who's contemplating, maybe I should move, I don't know if I should move? What is that driving factor that you think they should lean onto to take that leap?
Go for it. I would say, take the chance.
When we were in Tulum, we met a girl, and a Black girl. So, we're talking, we're in line for the ATM, and I'm like, you just visiting?
She's like, no, I live here.
You're not Mexican. Are you visiting?
And she's like, no, I live, like, really? I'm like, how long have you lived
and
here?
She said 3 weeks. And then Glenn was like, well, what sparked that move?
And she's like, I don't know, I visited, I liked it. And I said, I can see myself living here, not forever, maybe a couple years. And I was like, wow, this is like such a wonderful mentality, because you never know. It might just be the next best thing of your life. It might just be that, also, the door opening.
We were talking with some of our friends who are Black, and our Black friends. And we were talking about the bravery and the freedom to just get up and go and do and try that comes with privilege that is often available for a white person.
100%.
Take a year off. Yeah, honey, travel the world. Take a year off. You know, and I think in a lot of ways we don't feel that license to do that and to have that freedom and to try things and to move and to explore or to take a year off. And I know for a lot of Black communities.
I was even watching a meme, and it was I don't know, it was one of those popular Instagram accounts, and it was showing the difference between a conversation like this in a Black household and then a white household, and
it was an actual conversation. It was a reality TV.
Yeah, and so the young lady, she was like, I'm not sure what I want to do, talking about college or her next moves. And her mother was like, well, you should go to study for this, and you need to make sure you need to be looking for a job while you're in your last year, so you can make sure.
And we can understand that. You understand the reasoning and the thinking of a Black mother or father and talking to their Black child.
She wants to make sure that it's sure, And then on the other hand, there was a white family, and the kid was like, they asked the kid, what are you going to do after college? He's like, I don't know.
And it's like, and the mother's like, okay, don't worry.
You don't have to know right now.
You're young.
3 years to figure it out.
You're young, baby.
Yeah, go ahead. Travel. Go backpacking in Europe for a little while.
Yeah.
You always have us to fall back on, and
baby, go live on the land,
baby. You money. You here, here's an extra credit card. You know what I mean? And like growing up Black, we don't have that.
We don't have that license to be able to do that. And so I think like we carry that into adulthood, and it doesn't make sense, or it doesn't feel the safest or the best bet, to move 100%. Across country or, to try a new place. But I really do think in that place of unfamiliarity, of that place of uncomfort, there is levels, even if it's not the exact right thing. I think you'll find it, but there is some growth to be had in that place of uncomfort, even if it's temporary, that place that you're moving to or that new place you're exploring.
Even if you go and you find you don't like it, you're going to learn something and become better because of it,
Yeah.
So I would say go for it and try it out,
Well, you're inspiring me. Maybe I'll pack up and move someplace else new. Okay. If anybody else is trying to make that jump.
It's a Zoom nation.
It's a Zoom world. We do all
I'm telling you. Might go to Mexico. You just never know. So going back to you guys being pastors, which I think is one of the things that makes you guys extremely unique, is balancing being designers and then also being pastors. So in the decision-making process of your business, how does spirituality coincide with the production of your clothing? And is it even down to the colors? What does that all mean? And why is that important to us watching, listening to our day-to-day lives?
It's what we come to understand, and this has just been a journey of growth. And
even in the last 9 months, we learned so much of this.
It's all one and the same. You know what I mean? Like because we are spiritual beings, we're going to produce spiritual things. You know what I mean? Like, even if we're not consciously thinking about, okay, we're going to do this color because it's going to represent the Holy Spirit.
And I think
we don't do any of that.
A lot of Christian brands feel the pressure to say, this is my logo and this is my name and this means the cross and and this has and this this represents Jesus' blood, and you know what I mean. Like I think a lot of people, because they're Christian, because they're Christian artists, they feel the need to like infuse like an explanation of how it ties back to Christ. But the thing that we've realized that we're learning is that we are that. We are the temples of the Holy Spirit, housing the Spirit of Jesus. And so what we do and what we create is an extension of that. And people, what we always prayed is that people would get healed in our clothing. People would have joy because of our clothing. It would bring a smile on someone's face. We prayed all of those things. And I have to be honest, I don't know if I prayed those things with so much faith. I don't know. I don't know if I did or not, but I do know that God was faithful. Wow. And that he made it happen, because people will write us and they'll comment and they'll DM and they'll say, you don't even know. Someone just wrote, I cried. And they said, I was going through depression and I bought one of your dresses and I wore your dress and I don't feel depressed anymore. Wow. Now, someone can hear that and read it and be like, okay, baby, okay. it could just be exactly what we prayed.
Yeah.
God, even me, a faithless prayer, just saying it, wanting it to be, but don't know how much faith I have towards it. God was still faithful, and He made it happen for the brand.
You didn't tell me about that.
I did tell you.
I don't remember that.
I'll show you the video.
That's a beautiful thing, though, and I think that says a lot when someone can reach out and say that they're an article of your clothing or wearing items from the BruceGlen collection brings them peace or joy, or brings a joy to the day. It's something as small as that. And I love clothes. I wear a lot of clothes. And it says a lot when you can wear something and say, oh, wow. And one thing about you guys' collection, it's fun. I can say that. It's definitely sparks joy. I feel like, was that Marie Kondo, the one who does like rearranging and what brings you joy? Is this joy? It definitely does spark joy. And I can totally understand and see how that coincides with spirituality. And it's so interesting that you guys pray as well while in creation of your clothing items, and hoping that the clothes will touch somebody that wears the garment is definitely a beautiful thing for sure. My gosh, you guys are dropping some great gems. I'm learning so much about you guys. But to close it out, I have to say there are some people in the audience before we do our Q&A who are either interested in fashion, in the fashion industry, previously a designer, or trying to be a designer, trying to be a stylist. What would you say to that person that is interested in being in the fashion community?
Keep creating, I would say. One of the things that, I don't know, we were just talking about this with someone, on the other Zoom call. We had stopped creating for ourselves at some point because we were just kind of tired. You know what I mean? We had been freelancing for a while. We had done a couple collections, or more than a couple collections, all these little capsule collections, just try to, keep the art alive and, keep doing things, keep BruceGlen pumping somehow. And then we had sort of kind of just given up on it. And we stopped freelancing. We stopped creating our own stuff, and we started working again full time for a brand, a menswear brand. And he became the head designer, and I was the social media and marketing manager. And we were making really good money, so we were satisfied. We were comfortable now after not being so comfortable for so long, freelancing spurts of money here and there. Sometimes you have a job, sometimes you don't,
right.
Right.
And so we had gotten to the point where we're like, okay, you know what, maybe we'll just do this corporate thing and we'll climb this corporate ladder, and I'll become the vice president of marketing here, or the president of marketing. And I'll just become the creative director. You know what I mean? Like, we were fine with that. And I remember one morning, God had spoken to us separately, and this is how He does a lot of times. And then we come together, and it's usually the exact same word or phrase or something, that we know that it was God speaking to us individually. And so we had taken our lunch break that day. I said, bro, I feel like God spoke to me this morning. And I said, I do too. And he said, what did He say? Don't get comfortable. Right? And so
I love this twin thing. I want a twin too.
At that point, I was a little upset with God, because I'm like, don't get comfortable. We've been so uncomfortable, like trying to make ends meet, doing this freelance thing. And now we're in a place where we're finally making money. I could, go out to eat if I want now. I could buy, a few designer pieces here and there for myself. You know what I mean? I'm comfortable now. I haven't been this comfortable in a long time. So what do you mean, don't get comfortable? And we realized that He was saying to not stop creating, right? Or to continue creating, and to continue doing our passion and continue dreaming, and right? Something that He said, because the dream had died. It had died. Something that I really felt was, if Anna Wintour were to come up to you and say, you're a designer, show me what you do, we would have nothing to show them or her. And so we say, okay, we have to create. And so that goes back to what Glen was saying from the beginning. Create, continue creating, create with whatever you have. Some of the most beautiful things are born out of hardship, a moment of sadness. Unfortunately, the Bible says that He'll give you beauty for ashes. So you may have a pile of ashes in front of you, but you keep creating with that pile of ashes, and God will turn it and make it beautiful. And we created one bag. That one bag spurred a new movement for BruceGlen, and we were ready when Anna Wintour came knocking.
Wow, that is amazing. You heard that, guys? That is something, if you're interested in getting into the fashion industry, or even in general, whatever you're trying to pursue, don't stop creating. That is the word for it. And don't get comfortable. Don't get comfortable. That's definitely a word. All right. Thank you, guys. Let's get into this Q&A. Let's see. We have a question. Solange asked, do y'all ever experience imposter syndrome, and how do you push past / through it?
Oh my God, all the time. We turn to each other and we know when it's happening, you know? It's just great because I often feel,
now we get to be in like all these rooms with all these different people.
And not like, even just like with opposite race, even with our own race, you know, I don't know. I just feel like we're like the quirky fashion guys that are like, really happy. And like, you know, we walk into a room and everybody's like, you know, and so like we're like, and I remember when we were in Saks, or we got our first bag for Saks, and in the middle of the floor it was our collection, and it was so much color. It was crazy in comparison to
everything was neutral. It was like beige,
brown.
It was like fall.
No color at all. And I remember like the first feeling I felt was embarrassment. I was like, what the heck are we doing? We doing here? We don't belong here. This color. And I said, we stand out so much. We stand out so much. And the Lord, I feel like the Lord shook me in that moment. He says, I created you to stand out. Be exactly who I created you to be. And so I think our remedy for imposter syndrome is just falling on that. Like, I'm just gonna be, I'm not smooth, I'm quirky, I'm a little silly sometimes, I make crazy faces. I'm not trying to be anyone else aside from who I was.
And then what we've learned is like when you are authentically you and what's inside of you and not trying to be everything and everybody else, that's when people really begin to respond to you.
Yep. I think Andre 3000 said it best. He said, your authentic self, I think he used the word, your primal, when you get into that primal flow of who you are in the very core, that is your best contribution to this world. And so I think too many times we're trying to be like, imitate, mimic something, an idea, a person, a thing. And meanwhile, God's like, no, baby. Under all of that, there's something so special.
If you just do what I put inside of you, if you be that, you'll see that every other door will open up to you. Every door's locked right now because you haven't turned on that thing or let that thing out that I created for you yourself to be, you know?
And so I think that when we feel that imposter syndrome, it's just going back to the fact that, hold on, wait, I am perfect. I mean, I know it sounds so cheesy, like I'm perfectly made exactly how he wants me to be. And I'm going to walk in that and work in that, even if it's a little silly, even if like people don't understand it right off, you know what I mean? I'm just gonna be me. That's all I can
It's enough because
it's too hard
he created it, you know? And if he created it, then it has to be enough.
Oh my gosh. That does say a lot for sure. I think that's something that we all experience with imposter syndrome and self-esteem and questioning self. And that is so encouraging to hear because it's something we all deal with at some point, and even the most confident people. So it's so true. And that is such a good word. And thank you, Solange, for asking that question. And I have to ask in closing, because I feel like I'm talking to two people, but at the same time, I feel like I'm talking to one brain. And so I have to ask, what is it like working with your brother? And of course, what are the odds that you guys are both interested in? You guys are twins, but you all are individuals, and you guys are both interested in similar things and develop this whole brand that is now, I mean, you've mentioned Saks, it is worn by celebrities. It has been featured in New York Fashion Week. You guys are on Access Hollywood and another show that we may hear about in the future. So what is that whole experience like, just working together and just consistently being around each other creating?
It's so crazy because it really is. We have a song that we wrote that we're working on. Hopefully will be out by Christmas time.
Okay.
And one of the lines is 2 brains, 1 mind. That's like one of the lines in the bridge of the song. 2 brains, 1 mind. 2 other. Right.
We don't sing that part.
So it really is. It literally is like working with myself. You know what I mean? Like there's no one closer to me than this guy here. You know, no one who knows me better than him. He knows the looks on my face. He knows, everything about me. So it's really just a blessing. It's a gift from God. We were one person at one point, because that's what identical twins are. One egg, one sperm, and then in the process of mitosis, which is the splitting of the cell, the one becomes two. So we literally are the same person, in a lot of ways.
It's a real blessing. Like I feel like really, really blessed every day that I can work with someone who I'm so in sync with. You know what I mean? That we really do have the same mind about things, and then we have different minds in the places that are important, because like he thinks about like business in a way that I don't think about business, or he sees color in a way that I don't see color. He'll put together the prints and the patterns and say, this is a shirt. And I'm looking at him like, oh, that is a shirt. That's nice. Okay. And I'll start designing. So it's like really like the completing of, it's like really two brains, one mind, even though they're two separate bodies, like when it comes together, it's a completion of
hive mind.
It's not a hive mind. It's
a
one
dual
mind. Okay.
A dual mind.
Oh, yeah.
I love that. That is absolutely amazing. You guys make me want to be a twin so bad. I need to be a twin.
Amazing. It's a gift. It's really a gift from the Lord.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for this experience. It was amazing talking to you guys. And I'm so excited to see what you guys do in the future. And before we go, drop your social media. How can we follow you? How can we stay on top of the BruceGlen collection, brand, etc.?
It's all very simple. It's our names together. BruceGlen, Glen with one N, everything. Twitter, Instagram,
our website, everything.
Facebook, BruceGlen.
And BruceGlen Collection is our brand page. Because it's not called BruceGlen Collection, it's called BruceGlen, but we needed to have something else.
Love it. Thank you guys so much. And thank you everybody for watching. Make sure to follow 360 Baseline. I am Sarai Thompson. Thank you guys for joining us, and have a great night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much, Sarai.
Two brains, one